on that. Let me go back at the beginning. Let me start with the Philadelphia paper gun story. We played this on television, and I wish you could see the little girl because she is sitting on a couch, and she's 5 or 6?
I think 6, yeah.
6 years old, I think. And she is sitting on the couch with her mom, and when she says they're calling me a murderer, she says it and tears come up in her eyes, and she kind of, like all of our daughters or children do, she kind of rolls up kind of into a little ball and kind of leans into her mother for protection. It is so unbelievably sad. Now, I want you to listen to this report from Philadelphia.
Dave.
Well, Thomas, this is all about a 5th grader that brought a piece of paper to class that many say looked like a gun. And it's what happened next that has her family crying foul.
He would call me a murderer.
That's what Melody Valentine says classmates are calling her at Newland Fell Elementary School in South Philadelphia. She pulled out a paper gun last week and says an administrator scolded her in front of the class. Her mom says staff even searched her with other kids watching the whole time.
I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and my daughter's in the bathroom crying. She's saying I'm having nightmares. I'm having dreams that he's chasing me down the street.
Diana Kelly says the paper gun looks something like this, a sheet just folded over, made by Melody's grandfather the day before. Melody says she put it in her pocket and forgot about it until she got to school the next day. She says she went to throw it away, but a boy saw it and called administrators. The family says one of them went overboard.
He yelled at me and said that I shouldn't have never brought the gun to school, and I kept telling him that it was a paper gun, but he wouldn't listen.
Why did he threaten my daughter? Why did you stand over my daughter and tell her that you should call the cops on her? You can be arrested. Why were you trying to scare her?
I called the school district of Philadelphia several times for comment. Calls to the administrator were made and not returned. I even went to the school district's headquarters for answers. The district says they're looking into the matter and can't comment further. Meanwhile, Diana Kelly says she's been keeping her daughter out of class to avoid the harassment and made one thing clear.
I don't want my child in that school.
Well, Diana Kelly says she may have her daughter change schools altogether. In the meantime, we want to repeat this, several attempts to get a comment from the school district. We have not heard back from them. We will let you know when we do.
It's shocking. It is absolutely
over a
shocking.
paper gun.
Let me tell you what this is. This is indoctrination to get our kids to be terrified of guns. So terrified that they will have an irrational fear of guns. It's one thing to remove guns, and so you don't grow up around guns. Anybody who didn't grow up around guns, Stu is one of them. Were you a little awkward around guns?
Yeah. I mean, I always had a really healthy respect for them, and
right.
I don't know.
You feel a little awkward around them. It's not like you have an unhealthy, but you're awkward because it's not like I'm awkward. You give me a baseball or a bat or something like that, I'm not afraid of them. I didn't grow up around it. I don't know. I'm awkward around it.
Yeah, I mean, everything I know about, guns, when the first time I picked one up was from watching TV. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to use them.
Now, if you took that, because Stu is the average person in any populated state, especially in the East. And he didn't grow around. Did you know anybody who had guns?
One guy who, because he was outdoorsy, they had a house in Vermont. We shot guns one time in Vermont.
Okay.
That was
but
it.
You didn't know it. You didn't have any friends who went hunting and
no.
any of that. Okay. So that's the average person. Now you add on what they're doing in classes, because education, remember, is key. We all know now, and we didn't believe it 10 years ago. 5 years ago, I was like, well, it's just a little out of control. 2 years ago, I said, this is labor unions, and look at what they're doing. They've been infiltrated by Marxists, and they're indoctrinating our kids. Now I am telling you, get your kids out of this system. Get your kids out. The most important thing you could do, sell your house and live in a smaller house. Get rid of something that you're paying for if you can, and get your kids into private education that you trust. Christian, if you can, private education. It is the most important thing that you can do now.
Or homeschool if you can do that.
Homeschool if you can do it. It's critical because our kids are being indoctrinated. And here's what they're doing. The reason why that paper gun they're doing it is to give your kids an irrational fear of guns. You were called, this little girl, this little 5th grader, she's never going to forget
Called her murderer.
Yeah, she's never going to forget. She's waking up in the middle of the night crying by herself in the bathroom, and her mom has to comfort her. She's never, ever going to forget that. So a gun will always have that memory attached to it.
This is like if there was a problem with underage drivers, teens who didn't have a driver's license yet, driving, it would be like your kid who's maybe 12 years old gets into a cardboard box and pretends to drive it around the yard, and then a cop arrests them for driving that cardboard box.
Imagine a kid, because we were having a problem.
Right, so
this is
ridiculous
so true.
It is.
You know those grocery carts that have the little plastic
Yes.
cars in front?
Yeah.
Imagine your kid being in one of those grocery carts.
Pulled over by a police officer.
And the store manager in front of everybody, the store manager comes over and says, "Sir, step out of the car."
Do you have a license?
No.
Step out of the car. And your kid would freak out. And then the manager says, and you're just standing there like, it's a plastic car, man. It's a plastic car.
I'm pushing it. Do you see? I'm pushing it.
Excuse
There
me.
just happens to be a steering wheel there.
Excuse me. This is our store. Excuse me.
No, but
somebody call the police, please.
It's a shopping cart. It's not really a car.
That's exactly what this is. This is not a case of
total insanity.
If these people are this out of control, to where they equate a piece of paper shaped like an L, and they will search your child for that. These people are insane. We are accepting insane people and insane thoughts. Don't you see what's happening? We are willing to accept the insane. Teach our children this.
The other side uses the word extreme on us all the time. There's nothing more extreme than this.
This is not extreme. This is insanity. And you have to ask yourself, who's insane? Which one of us is insane? Mm-hmm. This is 2 + 2 = 5. Mm-hmm. This is 1984. Which one of us is insane? For them to equate and search a kid with a paper gun and then call him a murderer and have the teacher say, we could call the police on you, and we should call the police. That's what, in front of children, that's what she said, with a paper gun. Which one is insane? Are we insane, or is the teacher insane? And the entire school system insane? Because they are doing it, but I don't think they're doing it for any other reason than indoctrination. And if they don't know they're indoctrinating the kids to give an irrational fear, and they do, but if they don't, they're crazy. They're crazy. And their judgment is so off, your children should not be around them. And if they're not insane and they know what they're doing, then you're crazy because you're allowing it to happen to your children. You have a profound responsibility. We all do. You're not going to be able to change those school districts, but you got to get your kids away. You have to get your kids away. No matter what the cost is to you, the consequences of what we do and do not do will come when our children come of age.